and the unemployment rate is just under 50%. Kosovo, therefore, must enhance its international reputation in order to attract foreign direct investment. An improvement of the economy, ladies and gentlemen, is critical for Kosovo. At this point, the government needs to move swiftly. It needs to get assembly approval for a new budget, and it needs to get assembly approval for the privatization of major publicly owned companies and their assets. Also, it will need to press ahead with preparations for a census that is to be conducted in April, as this will provide the solid statistical basis for future planning and policy making. As a member of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, Kosovo needs to stick to its agreements. The agreements it has made in order to maintain its credibility. This is done by maintaining its budget deficit within manageable levels, in full respect of the agreement with the IMF and taking account of its spending needs. Kosovo has to undertake more steps to reduce its budget deficit and to devise a fiscally prudent budget. And this means that ideally, the Kosovo government in the long run should aim to only spend the money it actually does collect. Major capital investment projects, such as the new highway, necessitate a solid financial basis. Efficiency gains in revenue collection, and above all, a successful privatization of public assets are a key to fiscal sustainability. In this context, ladies and gentlemen, the recent plan to increase salaries for the public sector should be assessed very carefully. The government should closely coordinate with the IMF to come to a satisfactory solution for Kosovo. Another area that has not changed fast enough is northern Kosovo, where elements in society continue to try to stifle progress and block democratic change aimed at improving the lives of the people there. I believe that we can help to improve the situation by pressing forward with the decentralization agenda into the north. Our aim is to support the creation of a new municipality in the north of Mitrovica as a prelude to healing the divisions in that city. I do not believe that in the 21st century and in Europe in the 21st century it is appropriate or acceptable for two sides of a city to turn their backs on each other. This is just self-defeating. I've heard too many people, current and former residents of Mitrovica, lamenting what they see as wasted years since 2000. They need the support of the international community, but most importantly, they need the support of Kosovo's institutions. Rather than leaving it to the internationals, Pristina will have to redouble its efforts to win hearts and minds in the north. There are important tasks to fulfill in ensuring the protection of religious and cultural heritage in Kosovo. Important legislation to protect two jewels of Kosovo, the historic center of Prizren and the village of Velika Hoća, or Hoća in Male. These pieces of legislation will be forthcoming and will be considered by the Assembly. The laws will aim to promote careful participatory urban planning that will leave historic buildings standing for future generations to enjoy. My office will continue to work with the government to establish sustainable mechanisms for the management of special protective zones. As a contribution in this area, the Office of the EU Special Representative will organize an event later this month to raise awareness on the need to preserve the Novo Burgo medieval castle and town, as well as a keynote conference in Prizren on the protection of historic districts. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Kosovo's performance in this policy area will be central to its developing international reputation. Of course, one glance at the TV news this week tells you that we are at the beginning, at the start of the dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia. The new government will also have the opportunities offered by a sincere, respectful and constructive dialogue between Serbia and Kosovo as independent and sovereign states. I underline this, as independent and sovereign states, to identify and resolve issues of practical interest to the benefit of the peoples of both countries. I think it is clear that these talks will not be talks about status, and Kosovo's territorial integrity is not open and will not be open for discussion. Possible issues up for discussion may include travel documents, telecommunications, energy and missing persons. Kosovo's new government must be prepared to engage genuinely. It must be well prepared technically and professionally, and it must have coherent and unified policies among the coalition partners. The acceptance of the facilitating role of the European Union by all sides through the resolution of the Assembly of the United Nations General Assembly, and the agreement to focus on the things that will improve people's lives can and should herald a new phase of regional cooperation. It will benefit both Pristina's and Belgrade's European perspective in equal measure if the dialogue is conducted in a constructive spirit. Finally, and I have touched on this at various points, the new Kosovo government must work to overcome the country's reputational challenges in Europe. And this, in particular, calls for full commitment to robust efforts to improve the rule of law in cooperation with the EU-LEX rule of law mission. Ladies and gentlemen, so Kosovo will need to address the issues that I highlighted. At the same time, it must make itself ready for the future. And this is where you all come in. Kosovo needs to make use of the talent and innovative capacities of its people in order to be able to meet its challenges. I believe that the time has come for the younger generation, including you in the room here today, to be properly engaged in the effort to boost the development of this country. People who are in a position to do so must identify the resources and the necessary skills needed for a functional, viable and sustainable Kosovo, and then act decisively to secure them. Experience, coming with age, is always important, but it must be well balanced by the energy and creativity of young people. there is an expectation on the new generation to be ready to make its contribution in dealing with the past and in moving towards reconciliation among all communities. In doing so, it will help to transform the country and the nation into a fully functional member of the developed world and specifically of the European Union, where it belongs. Perhaps a closing word on my own organization, if you will, ladies and gentlemen. A closing word on the International Civilian Office. I am sure you see regular debates in the media about when supervised independence might end. Allow me to remind you that the International Civilian Office was reduced by around 13% in size in the course of the year 2010, due to tasks being completed in partnership with the government. In a few weeks, we will be reduced by a further 25%. So we are a dynamic organization, and we will not stay longer than we are instructed or needed. This is your country, and the ICO is only here to advise and assist, to help lay the foundations. Further progress in implementation of the Comprehensive Settlement Plan means further reductions in the ICO. I hope we continue to make further progress during this year. Indeed, Kosovo needs to continue moving forward. It is very clear that the challenges ahead are not easy. However, the destination of Kosovo is very clear as well. And the only way to get there is by solidifying its commitment to the rule of law, by improving its economy, by keeping to its international commitments, and by maintaining good neighborly relations. In doing so, the contribution of the young and educated is indispensable. Thank you very much.